Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going good.
All right, all right.
Trying to
And
get the ends up proper.
not a problem. And to those you don't know, welcome to the Carlos Cruz show. And right now I'm sitting with this is Mark, correct?
This is
Nathan, excuse me, Nathan. Nathan. All right, gotcha. Okay. And who was our secondary guest here?
this is Elder Newman.
Elder Newman.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, all right. Well, it's definitely it's good to meet with you guys and sit down with you and um spread the word that you want to give my viewers and possibly the world about your seemingly gospel. So um so quick question here. So what year did Mormonism and LDS actually start?
So Joseph Smith, the prophet who orchestrated the restoration, he had the first vision in the year 1820, and then took a few more years for church to be formally established.
It wasn't formed though by Joseph Smith. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the church that we're a part of, is the same church that Jesus Christ himself established. So essentially it was established in when Jesus Christ was ministering and he taught his gospel.
Okay, so you're making the correlation of LDS Church and the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
We're correlating with the church that Christ established during his ministry to the one that has been restored in modern days.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
And so what is the difference between LDS and the Mormon Church? From my recollection, is the current state of the Mormons are they have more they say they're stricter in their beliefs, more old stuff. They have more, I guess, more so plural wives and more community standards. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, so we believe that God, he gives us commandments and that he wants us to keep those commandments so that we can progress and become more like him. And so some of these commandments are like the word of wisdom, which talks about keeping our bodies pure, which means that we avoid strong drinks, avoid things that would kind of hinder us in like when we like take it. And so we have certain things like that.
Yeah. And I think the church you said the Mormon church and the LDS church, are you like you mean like our church, right? I because I heard you say both. I wasn't sure if you were referencing like trying to reference two different churches or something like that. Making
Yeah,
sure I heard you correctly.
because at some point wasn't there a split?
Okay. There we go. Okay, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying now. Yeah, I think there was a split within the early parts of the church, but that was, and then a lot of them, some of those reformed LDS, the RLDS, they're not associated with it. I think they actually changed their name to the Church of Christ now, but they are their own thing and they still practicing their polygamy and all those things out somewhere. I have no idea where they are, but they're not associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Gotcha, gotcha. And the Holy Land for you guys is the Americas, starting with Utah and then going south. Is that right?
So Utah, it's where the church went over to after some persecution out in the east. And so the church headquarters is currently there. But uh,
But essentially, I think so. The Holy Land, meaning like the Promised Land, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because you guys, I know in some of your uh, discussions with people, I hear that a lot, the Holy Land.
I never really referenced to the Holy Land, but something I've learned in my study of the scriptures, Bible and Book of Mormon, is that the Lord promises us our own set of specific promised land. So there's not one holy land. The Bible, Jerusalem, that was the holy land at one point, and then like people going somewhere else, that's their own promised land. The people in the Book of Mormon, they traveled from the American continent from Jerusalem to the American continent, and the Lord is leading them to their promised land. And like Moses is traveling to his promised land, right? The Lord has specific promised lands, I guess you could say, rather than like one specific holy land.
Gotcha. And I guess speaking of land, you guys are just about in every continent except for a lot of Middle Eastern countries. Is that correct?
That sounds pretty accurate. We try to be part of sharing the gospel is that we want to share it to as many people as possible in their native language. So we try to have some influence all over the world.
Are there Mormons in China?
I'm fairly certain that there are.
Okay. And how does that work, since they're communists? Because I know that a lot of missionaries get in trouble going to China and Saudi Arabia, but
Fortunately, I don't think that we're too knowledgeable in the subject.
I don't think there are proselyting missionaries like us in China. That is something that's maybe in the works to see what it says in the future, but I don't think as of right now there are proselyting missionaries like us. There are missionaries that go do service around there that help in any way they can, but as of right now, I don't think they have missionaries that can go and proselyte and go teach people about Jesus Christ and everything based to their situations there.
Gotcha. And I know that Christianity can be a very complicated conundrum. For example, Adventists, they don't eat pork. I don't know if they changed that, but because of the Gospels and stuff like that. Do you guys eat pork?
Yeah, so we do eat pork, to answer the question plainly. We believe that we have the things that God put on this earth we can use as long as we use it to our benefit.
Gotcha.
He created the earth with us in mind.
So I know that Jesus didn't partake in pork, and he kept those tenets. I didn't see any evidence that he sort of deviated from that. That's interesting. Okay, gotcha. Can people of color become priests in the LDS Church?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, when did that change?
Year wise, I don't know really, but there was a, I don't know, to say the least, there was a point in time where we couldn't have, like, the priesthood was withheld within some people, but I'm not sure specifically when it was changed, but it was all things have been done in the wisdom of God. I don't know what his whole purpose and plan is, but God did it for a plan, for a purpose, and we'll find out sometime.
And because of how sort of I run into a lot of LDS people who talk about multiculturalism within LDS. Within the LDS community, um, uh, the promise of marriage and marriages and carriage. I'm not speaking against that or anything like that in the young community. Um, uh, is uh, is there interracial marriage within LDS, and if so, what is the percentage of that?
There is. You can get. Yeah, you can marry whoever you're in love with in the LDS Church. You can believe that marriage is very important in the church. You believe that it's between a man and a woman, but we don't have a specific percentage that we can really point at right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've seen videos where some people who are Asian or black, and they said their experiences of wanting to get married to who they want to, and they having to leave LDS because they said had a lot of pushback, and you know, because of I guess the um, intercultural differences, whether it be, racial, whatever. So, okay. So I'm glad you sort of, touched on that. Like I said, people are human beings, right? So there's always going to be someone who's going to not like something somewhere on the line. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that actually. People like to just point their problems to one thing and just make a mess of it, but there is no discrimination within the church. You can marry whoever you want.
Gotcha. Um, so, on the subject of politics, whatever, are you guys encouraged to participate in politics, or are there a lot of LDS people in politics, or are you guys sort of like Jehovah's Witnesses, where they're told to steer away from it because it leads them away from God, the church, and possibly to the devil?
So we do believe in separation of church and state. Those two should stay separate. However, people are encouraged to still politically be active just for the interests of the country. And we support and uphold all laws made by the country as well.
Gotcha. And what do you think of Mitt Romney?
I don't really know much about politics, unfortunately. I'm only 19, so I don't have much of a say.
Yeah. Well, Mitt Romney he's a former Republican candidate. I don't think he's in politics anymore, but he's one of the frontliners, some years back, uh, because, of course, Republicans are traditionally conservative, and you guys are sort of a conservative, community. And so, as far as LDS is concerned, you guys have strong sort of family values, stuff like that. Because you guys believe marriage is between a man and woman, correct? Not man and man, right? That, um, and homosexuals are not allowed to be part of the LDS Church, correct? Because it's just a conflict of
No,
interest.
So homosexuals are allowed to be in the church. We invite all to come into the church. However, they may not be able to, they may have certain restrictions on things like the temple, but all are invited to come to partake of the gospel.
Okay, so there are homosexual LDS members.
Yeah, there are some members who can be homosexual, but as long as they're upholding the laws that God has established, then they can reap the rewards of using and abiding by those laws.
Gotcha. So how are LDS communities sort of set up? I remember 10 years ago I asked that question to some LDS people, and they were told not to answer that. I don't know if anything changed, or I wasn't being rude or anything, but they told not to comment on that.
what was the question?
How are LDS communities set up or run? Um,
Talking about like organization of, or I guess establishment of the church in new areas.
yeah, sort of like living areas, because I know that when I talk to most LDS people, they like to live in a community that's where LDS people are, you know, I guess, so they can stay closer to the church and closer to God, whatever. So,
I don't really, I don't know. I'm in Georgia right now, and I don't really see much of that around here, honestly. They're all over the place. They're not really living within close bounds of each other. There's a church building that's near that we can all go to gather together, but per se like a community where we all trying to move to, it's not really much of a thing, especially here. So I don't know. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question, but that's the way I've seen it, at least.
gotcha. Um, so you guys are only allowed to have one wife?
Yes.
Okay, one wife. Okay. Gotcha. And what age are you encouraged to get married?
So there's not really a specific age that they encourage us to do so. They it's really just when you can support a family, when you can support your wife, support kids, is kind of when they like it's kind of when we want to start doing it.
Right. So if you're LDS, are you where are you guys voting? You guys Republican, independent, Democrat, libertarian?
So the religion itself doesn't have really too much of a hold politically. You can be a Democrat and be in the church. You can be a Republican. You can be in the church. Be independent. You can be in the church. So the church does have strong family values, which may influence some votes. But at the end of the day, we're there for the gospel, not really for politics.
Gotcha. The gospel. Um, what are some benefits people will say, well, to become part of the LDS church to say, okay, well then say the great Baptist churches that say they have in Georgia. I'm not promoting baptism, by the way. Just yeah.
Yeah. So what we're out here doing is we're spreading the message about Christ's restored church on the earth, restored the way that Christ had it originally. And so we just invite everyone to come and at least see what they could have. They could just come and see if they feel the spirit there, come and see if they want to stay there. They think it feels good, feels right. And so some of the things that we have that may be divergent from many other religions are things like the Book of Mormon, or words about Christ. We also have temples as well and the ordinances with them.
Is there food?
Great question. Uh, during we do have a lot of activities, and we do like to bring food there because food just tastes good. So
Okay. That might help you
As
get
well as,
food.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say, as well as once a month we have a fast within the church everywhere around the world on like the end of the month usually, and we we have a thing where we I guess the money we would use to have for our breakfast and our lunch is put to fast offerings, and it helps the community as well as members within the church that don't have resources for food. But it's not only for the members within the church, it also goes to a bishop's storehouse in which they can use to bless the community and all the people that don't have food around there. So it's a resource that's not only a benefit within the church, but as well as outside of it for the generosity and the how willingness they are to serve, I guess.
Gotcha. And what is? And I know most churches have tithes. What is the percentage of tithes? You're a member of LDS. What does that look like? 12%, 10%, 4%,
10%.
10%.
10%? Okay. All right. So you know your stuff. Okay. Yeah. What are some things do because of the way the LDS is right now, um, how do you think it can improve sort of communities? You know how like you see um uh public schools running amok and all that type of things. If we have an LDS presence in say a public school, how could that change the outlook?
So the church has it's very big on charity and social welfare. Recently, during the December season, we had something called giving machines in which people could donate to local charities. And the church also, with things like bishop storehouses and donations from members during fast offerings for tithing. And the church also has is like they do global disaster response as well. So within a local community, the presence of the church can help to can work with charities, do service with charities. People are encouraged to go out and do service for their communities as well.
Yeah. And how's your presence in Latin America? I know that in Venezuela under Hugo Chavez, you guys were sort of say not banned, but encouraged to leave. There was some sort of miscommunication between the native community there in Venezuela and the LDS. But how is your presence in Latin America today?
I have no idea.
As missionaries, we're kind of just around in this local area, and we know this area and a few things about the church very well, but we're not too knowledgeable in that certain area.
Okay, because I know when I was in Peru, I saw you guys. I was in Ecuador. I saw you guys. I was in Colombia. I sort of saw you guys. But no, I totally get it. If you haven't been there, have discussed with missionaries that have been there, I
Everything
totally.
good?
Yeah, we're good. You good?
Yes.
Okay,
You
yeah.
come and check for this house?
No, we were just on a call, so we just parked here. Is that okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. What was your name, brother?
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, good. It's nice to meet you. Okay, you take care.
Sorry for the interruption there.
No,
What was
no
the
problem.
question?
No problem. No problem. I definitely appreciate you, appreciate you guys' time. So how do people get in touch with you? I guess on social media or website, and I guess you can repeat it or phone number a couple times. You can display if you want to on camera, whatever.
Yeah, so if you want to talk to the missionaries, we have the church website, which you can reach at do you know the exact web address?
For the church, comeunderchrist.org.
Yeah, comeunderchrist.org.
Okay.
And then you can also find us on Facebook. We have Facebook pages. And missionaries, we tend to be more local in different areas. So you can put in a request online to meet with us, and the missionaries in your area come talk to us. But
Gotcha.
yeah, that's essentially it.
Okay. Hey, are there LDS police officers?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And you can if you want to, but what is a goal you have for LDS in the future? And also, do you have a prayer to share with the world?
Yeah, our prayer really is that people will consider what we're saying, to pray about what we've talked about, to really experiment upon the words that we say and find out for themselves if this is something that the path for them. We want people to come into it with an open mindset and to kind of experience these blessings that we've been able to find, experience it for themselves and decide for themselves what they want to do, but at least for them to experience it. And we also pray that people can be able to look past their certain afflictions, look past people's transgressions, that people can be able to be peaceful with one another, be able to just all help one another out.
Okay, that sounds good. I definitely, guys, appreciate your time and your patience for coming to speak with me. And do you have any questions for me before we go ahead and turn this interview off?
I wanted to say what. Actually, I guess I had two questions. The first one is, have you had much experience with speaking with missionaries like us then?
Have I experienced speaking with missionaries? Yes.
Have you had the discussions with them before?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. How was that experience for you?
Majority of it has been, peaceful. I've spoken with Baptist missionaries. We did do a videos before I got my YouTube channel up. I've actually had LDS at one point in my house, and we were just discussing different Bibles, Qurans, everything. It was really interesting. Never, this is 10 years ago, and the guy's there. He brings his stuff, and it's like four LDS people and me versus him. It was so it got very interesting. I never went to the actual no temple or whatnot. So I wasn't kind of lead them on, but I love knowledge. I like talking to people, discussing people, and I think that went on for like a good 2 hours, and I'm highlighting the Bible and this part and Quran. So it was very interesting. I never honestly I didn't think they would actually show up because it was one guy was talking. And he's like, "Well, I don't want to answer that unless I haven't had knowledge." And then he brought another person brought another person, and I was like, "Well, we can all sit and meet, whatever." And I was like, "Well, as long as there's food involved," and it says, "Okay, sure." So that was
That's awesome.
yeah.
Do you have like a church that you go to? Like, are you what? Like I don't know. Are you like a religious person? What religious group are you a part of?
Well, that's interesting. I do believe in God.
Okay.
Um, and so a lot of my beliefs are based upon the Abrahamic text, which is, Torah Bible, stuff like that. But right now I meditate with Buddhist monks, I read the Bible, but I haven't honestly, to be honest with you, I haven't really been to probably a church in like 10 years, I guess, maybe 10 years. No, about 5 years. 5 years. Probably 5 years or so. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, sweet. Those are my two questions. So you don't have like a specific one you go with. You just dabble in all of them, trying to find out, just receive more knowledge.
Well, for me, it's not really about dabbling. I have certain core beliefs that are based upon the Judeo-Christian values, but I do really enjoy meditation because it allows me to relax and take stuff like that. But I, as a hobby, since I love history, I do like talking um to other faiths just to get knowledge, see where they're at, to have less ignorance on the subject, to see what commonalities I could bring together. You know what I mean? People, things like that. So that's kind of like my point, but not to sort of shun or like a gotcha moment. I
Mm-hmm.
used to. Ooh, I used to battle when I was 25. Man, I battle. I'm like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I prove to because I went to grad school. So when you go to grad school, you have to cite things, you have to do papers, and all that stuff. So you got to be pretty sharp. Yeah,
That's so.
yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate you guys' time and everything, stuff like that. I hope you got something out of it. I sure did, and you guys are very respectful, and I'll definitely reflect the interview. Okay, and I want you guys to have a great weekend and have a great new year, and hope all your stuff comes true.
Thank you,
Yeah.
brother.
So
And I'm sorry. And the last thing I just wanted to say is the things we said as missionaries are not here to like these aren't the exact things the church would say. We don't have like a perfect knowledge within what the church is. We're continuing to learn. So all these things, they are not here to like say everything we said is what the church would say about these things specifically. They'll probably say it a little bit better than we could. So, but we are just representatives for the church. So just want to make that clear.
Yeah, not a problem. I think what's really interesting is that how disciplined you guys are. Very sort of organized, sharp, professional looking. So that's one thing I will admire about you folks. Very professional, extremely professional.
I appreciate that, man.
All right.
it was
All
absolute pleasure talking with you today.
right.